So if you look at that, then is it worth it to open up the travel? Because yes, there's an economic benefit, of course, to reopening tourism, and it's something that our economy desperately needs right now. But if it knocks us back, where a wide swath of businesses not related perhaps to tourism have to then shut down, when you look at those numbers, I mean, the bottom line is it worth it?
Yunjin, you're asking the million-dollar question here that I ask myself every day, and we struggled with when we came up with the framework for opening up Oahu. As you know, and I know you have questions probably from your listeners about what's not open, what is open, and why are certain things open in certain ways. And it all comes down to protecting health and safety, number one, but always with an eye of how do you allow certain things to open up so that business can start to come back, because folks have to live on this island after the pandemic. So as we come out of it, if there's nothing to go to, there is no job, there is no restaurant, there is no small business, it's going to be very difficult to open up and survive on this island. As you see, people are leaving already for jobs in other places. So it's a balancing act. How much risk are you willing to take? The Department of Health doctors and doctors who advise us here at the city advised to not open up restaurants to indoor dining. They pointed to New York City that had their restaurants shut to indoor dining from March until last week or 2 weeks ago. They point to other cities where indoor dining is still shut long after they shut down. And they're saying there is risk, an inherent risk, to open up the restaurants to indoor dining. And I made the decision as mayor to find a balance by saying, okay, in the first tier, restaurants will open up just to people from the same household or family unit. So if you live together with someone and you eat around the table every evening at your home, if you want to go out to a restaurant, you can and eat around the same table, a unit of five. And that is risky, I've been told by the doctors. Yet I made that decision because pre-pandemic, 55,000 jobs were dependent on a restaurant industry here in urban Honolulu. It's a huge employment sector. And so hopefully it's going to work. So far we see the caseload down. It takes about 2 weeks to really see the result of any action, which is why our framework goes for a full month, 2 incubation cycles. But we're getting in the second week, and so far we don't see any risk from opening up restaurants. It doesn't mean it couldn't happen in the future if people aren't really careful. But so opening up to visitors, about 20% of our economy on Oahu is visitor related. And how do we open up in a safe way? And I believe one test weeds out a lot of folks. It doesn't weed everyone out, and there's risk in it. I also believe that initially not a lot of visitors are going to be coming, even though we hear about pent up demand. I ask myself, even me, when I'm no longer mayor, will I get on a plane for 5 or 6 hours to fly to California? Because I think there's risk in doing that. And so you got to figure out how much risk do you want to take. Will visitors hop on the plane? Lots of them. And also knowing that when they get here on Oahu, there's no bars open, there's no nightclubs open. You can go to a restaurant if you're more than five and you're just coming with your friends and you don't live together, you can't eat together. You can go at five to a beach. So there are restrictions. I think you're going to see a trickle back, and we learn from that. We get everything in place. The Safe Travels app is in place. The police are able to enforce those who are not following quarantine. We learn from that. And then we work on our testing capacity, and we start testing. I'd like to test everyone who comes in, residents and visitors who don't get a pre-test, get a post-test upon arrival. And now we know everyone who's come in has been tested at least once, and we know at least 80% of them whether they have the virus or not. And then we work on a second test 4 days later, voluntary, not subject to quarantine, when we have that capacity and the logistics in place. And we're looking at places in Waikiki to do this. We're looking at places out at the airport to do this.